All right. Well, hopefully the next one will be better. It didn't get any better. So, that was kind of heartbreaking, and not in a, good way. So let's talk about this. I've said it before. I said it primarily with my review of Kubo and the Two Strings, and a little bit of my review of Isle of Dogs last year. I'm not a Pixar person. All right, it's not that I hate Pixar. I just don't particularly like Pixar. I have never found one of their movies just to be this, awe-inspiring thing. But show me a stop-motion movie and I am all over it. I love stop-motion movies. The care, the detail, what you have to do to create realistic and fun movements using, just manipulating a thing just a tiny little bit at a time. The care and the detail that it takes to do that. And what I find is most often, especially with the Lanka Studios who did this film, because the movies take so much time and such planning on such a grand scale, and they're mixing not just computer elements, but the practical effects of the puppets and the sets and all of that, because there is that level to it. These movies tend to be about a lot more. They tend to be just a lot more, with a lot more depth of theme, of character, even simple ones. Paranorman. If you have not seen Paranorman, you need to see Paranorman. I say this a lot. Someday you're going to listen to me. See Paranorman, okay? Just do it. Box Trolls, while not as deep as Paranorman, had deeper elements to it and had a fun heart, an interesting fairy tale kind of take on it. Again, interesting to look at, interesting culture, fun characters. Okay, Kubo and the Two Strings a few years ago was an epic, based on the old samurai movies. And at its core, again, a relatable character, and themes that ran deeper than your standard kid fare. Okay? So why I bring this up is because this film, I'm sorry to say, and I am very sorry to say this, it doesn't have that. It's got the epic scale. It's a globe-trotting epic. It's trying to be, whereas Kubo and the Two Strings was very much a takeoff of the old samurai movies. This film is trying to be a takeoff of kind of a cross between a Laurel and Hardy movie or an Abbott and Costello movie even, and one of those grand adventure films, kind of like Around the World in 80 Days, or something like a Jules Verne kind of old school adventure, discovering a lost civilization and all that. So it's got the epicness, but where it falls down is the more interesting characters, the much more involved story with heavier themes. That's all gone. It's not there. And here's the thing I think I should state, is that if you're not as invested in this studio as I am, then it is entirely possible you can go see this movie and just go, that's funny. Or you go, hey, that was interesting. And maybe those things won't bother you, But to me, since I hold those other films in such high regard, the fact that this one just feels so flat. I mean, there's a joke about eating shit in this movie. There's a joke about eating shit. And I can tell you, that is where I clocked out. I was holding out hope. It had good enough moments, but when it did that, I was like, this is not what I was hoping for. This is not the film. This is not the piece of work from this studio that I have grown accustomed to and that I respect. You know, and you know what? We all fall down sometimes. And it doesn't give me any semblance of joy to have to give this film a negative review. But here it is, all right? So the story in this is in, I guess, Victorian era. You know, Hugh Jackman plays this millionaire playboy adventurer who wants to be recognized by this adventure club. That was a big thing in England at one time, were these adventure clubs, you know, basically these guys who went out and shot animals in Africa and then came home and did the I shot him and yes, I'm a big brave man, you know, that kind of thing. And he wants to be in this club. He wants to be recognized as a great adventurer. He goes out and he hunts down mythical beasts. You know, in the opening, he's finding the Loch Ness Monster. And through circumstance, happenstance, whatever, he comes into contact with a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot, okay, who actually contacted him. So the Bigfoot played by Zach Galifianakis. And Zach Galifianakis' Bigfoot contacted Hugh Jackman Explorer to say, hey, I'm the only one of my kind here in the Pacific Northwest, but I hear legends of others like me in the Himalayas, and I want you to take me there. And Hugh Jackman agrees. Zoe Saldana character gets, you know, pulled into the whole thing, and it's this whole, you know, adventure spiel while they're being tracked down by a bad guy for really dumb reasons. So on the surface of it, it sounds like, you know, this could be an interesting film about finding where you belong and, you know, recognizing what makes you different is what makes you special, and you don't need other people's approval, you know, for self-worth and all. It could have really done a lot with the premise it has, and it does none of that. It's a fairly generic story with fairly bland characters. And kind of how this is illustrated by the fact that so throughout it, Hugh Jackman's character, Hugh Jackman Explorer, is, yes, he's going to get something out of helping Zach Galifianakis Bigfoot find a new home. He's upfront about it. But once he does, I mean, he doesn't talk down to Zach Galifianakis Bigfoot. He talks to him with respect. He treats him like a person. You know, yeah, he's annoyed by, you know, the fact that Zach Galifianakis Bigfoot is, you know, takes things literally, or, you know, he's so strong, he does things stupidly. Yeah, he gets annoyed, but he never, like, yells at him or is mean to him or anything like that. But, like, halfway through the picture, Zoe Saldana character, like, chews Hugh Jackman out for, you're using Zach Galifianakis Bigfoot, and it's all about you, and all you care about is you. And it's like, you really don't see any evidence of that. There's no evidence of it. It's like, oh, the thing she says is, you make him carry your bag like your valet. He was to help Zach Galifianakis Bigfoot, you know, pass as a person. He was posing as his valet. He wasn't doing it to be mean. That was part of the story. That was part of the plot. But now it's a thing to show that Hugh Jackman Explorer needs some kind of character arc that wasn't fucking there. And this character arc travels through the rest of the film. She keeps coming back to it. Oh, you only care about yourself. You're the only legend you're worried about. It's like, he was, when things go wrong, he was upset that, yeah, he wasn't going to get what he wanted. And yes, he should have, seen things from Zach Galifianakis Bigfoot's point of view, but he wasn't being, like, overtly bitchy or mean-spirited about it. It was just a very weird thing. They were trying to shoehorn a character arc where the character arc shouldn't have been. So you've got that, and the rest of the time, so the characters aren't interesting or deep or multi-layered like so many of the Laika Studios characters are. So that was a shock. Oh no, Dudley. I'm sorry, Dud. Also, again, so the rest of the film is also, like I said, it's like an odd couple, an Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy. You've got the very proper, British explorer, and the hillbilly kind of country, doesn't know what words mean, doesn't know what expressions mean, kind of hick, and the Zach Galifianakis Bigfoot doing their comedy routine, which is not funny. The jokes are all just so predictable and so disappointing. Not one of them really lands. There's one really funny line in this movie that I actually did laugh pretty hard at. And that, they're being held captives by the Yeti, because the Yeti have this secret civilization that they've kept hidden for all these years, and they don't want outsiders, to do it. So they're holding them captive. They escape and they're running away, and the Queen Yeti is like, the people we don't want here are trying to escape. Quickly, bring them back here. And so that was a genuinely funny line. I was like, ah, the rest of them, I think I chuckled maybe a couple times, but it just didn't have the wit or the zing of it. It was all very, like I say, it was very bad comedy. So yeah, just a very disappointing film. All bad? No. While the characters are flat, the performances are all pretty good. Hugh Jackman does a really good job with the Explorer. He's not, like I said, that was one of the things, is that the Explorer was actually a really fun character. Not a deep one, but a fun character. So you're like, okay, I kind of dig this guy. He's kind of cool. So he was having a lot of fun. His voice acting was very good. Zach Galifianakis, he's an acquired taste. I like him on Bob's Burgers. So the characters were fun, if not complex or interesting. And again, the animation is jaw-dropping and really exciting. There are 2 or 3 really good action scenes. There's an old country fist fight in a bar. There's a battle on a boat, and all of those are just very creative. So it's not just the same fight you've seen 150 times. It's different and unique. And of course, again, when you consider it's all done with models and puppets, then it's really fascinating. So there are some really good, there's some really great animation. So again, if you're not one of those people kind of like me who really follows this studio and really loves this studio, you probably can just go to this and go, okay, that wasn't bad, and wow, that animation was really great. So I think you can get enjoyment out of this. Like I say, it's not a terrible movie, but the thing is, if it is true for one, it has to be true for both. If I'm gonna come down on a CGI movie because it's all flash and no real substance, or it's substance that people assign to it, I gotta come down on this one too. It's pretty to look at, but there's no there's no substance to it. And again, it makes me very sad to say that, because I love this studio, I love the stuff they do, and every time I see that one of their films is coming out, I'm like, yay, great. But this time it left me wanting. So I don't know what else to say. So I guess the only thing to say is final grade for Missing Link. I gotta go C-. I've got to go a C- on this one, and that kind of hurts, because I had high hopes. But not every film is a masterpiece, and not every film has to be. Like I said, you can probably get some enjoyment out of it. But me, it was a disappointing day at the movies. So, we've fallen into a little bit of a slump. The year started out really high. We had a lot of really great movies. Now we're kind of getting into a malaise. There's kind of okay. But big movie season is right around the corner, so who knows? Hopefully we can recoup. But there's at least one more I want to see this weekend. I don't have high hopes for it, but I think it's going to be a fun review. I could be wrong. I could be surprised. I wouldn't bet on it, but I have a feeling the review is going to be fun. So I hope you tune in for that. So that's it for this episode. As always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.